Hello and welcome to the State of the Fleet Industry, a weekly video series produced by Automotive Fleet magazine and which is sponsored by Enterprise Fleet Management. I'm Mike Antich, editor of Automotive Fleet, and today I'd like to examine what's occurring in the fleet industry for the week of June 14th, 2021. And today's presentation marks the 61st consecutive weekly report that I've given on the state of the fleet market. And over these past 15 months, there have been several key themes that have emerged to capture what's been driving the market at any given time. So for example, if you were to look back at the same time last year, the word that best summarized the fleet market at that time was uncertainty. And today is no different. However, the word that best summarizes today's market is inventory, and in particular, inventory constraints, which is at the root of many of the challenges that we face today. So here are some examples. This month, June 2021, the auto industry had a 23-day supply of new vehicles, which is a record low. And this compares to last month, May 2021, when there was a 33-day supply. So the inventory of new vehicles is actually decreasing. And the contrast is even more stark when you compare it to the same time last year, June 2020, when there was a 61-day supply. And that was pretty much about normal. I mean, even in pre-pandemic times, a 60-day to 70-day supply of vehicles on a dealer lot was typical. But today, some brands, such as Toyota, are starting the month of June with just an 8-day supply of vehicles. And that's just incredible. And these are record low inventories, at least for all of us in the automotive industry today. But historically, new vehicle inventories were perhaps even lower in the 1946 to 1948 timeframe, immediately after the end of the Second World War, when the US auto industry stopped building equipment for the war effort and recommenced production of retail vehicles. And at that time, the auto industry was struggling to produce vehicles fast enough to meet this huge pent-up demand because for 4 years during the war, no new retail vehicles were produced. And plus, on top of that, there were now 12 million discharged military veterans who were now re-entering civilian life, and they all needed cars. But for everyone watching this video, whose careers started in the 70s, 80s, or later, none of us have seen inventories as low as this during our working careers. And don't get me wrong, low inventories is actually good news. It means that there's still a huge pent-up demand for new vehicles, causing them to sell faster than dealers are able to stock them. In fact, some dealers are saying that they're retailing popular models faster than the factories can replace them. But there are other ramifications to low inventory of new vehicles. So for instance, with new vehicle inventories extremely light and retail demand extremely strong, it's putting downward pressure on the amount of incentives needed to sell vehicles. And this is good news for OEMs and dealers. And as buyers find difficulty in finding vehicles they want as new vehicles, they're now buying similar models in the used vehicle marketplace. And the end result is that this has jolted used vehicle prices, which are also at record levels. Plus, interest rates continue to be relatively low, which is even further stimulating used vehicle sales. And to give you an idea as to the significance of the price increases for used vehicles, for the month of April 2021, used vehicle prices increased 10% in a single month, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And this is unheard of. The 10% monthly increase in used vehicle prices is now the fastest ever increase in prices since the government started recording used vehicle price data back in 1953. But from a fleet perspective, this is great news. You want to remarket your out-of-service fleet vehicles in a strong used vehicle market, but this market is exceeding everyone's expectation as used vehicles are fetching prices we never thought possible. In fact, used vehicle prices are increasing faster than what's being reported in the used vehicle guidebooks. But as they say, good things can't go on forever, and there most likely will be some tempering of used vehicle prices, especially as the government issued stimulus checks will ultimately taper out. Most tax returns this year have already been issued, both of which are often used as down payments by retail buyers to buy used vehicles. However, my prediction is the used vehicle market will continue to remain strong until new vehicle inventories start to increase. Dealers will continue to buy used vehicles at auction to backfill their low inventory of new vehicles. And as we all know, inventory shortages today are being further aggravated by the ongoing microchip shortage, which is causing dealers to pay top dollar at auction to acquire used vehicle alternatives for their retail customers. And I'd like to make two important points in closing this presentation. My first point is that no one predicted this. If you look back 12 months ago, you can't find anyone who was warning of record shortages in new vehicle inventory, or even that a microchip shortage could actually occur, or that we're on the cusp of record used vehicle prices and the strongest used vehicle market that any of us have experienced. My second point is that the fleet industry is not the master of its own destiny. We like to think we are. We like to think we control our destiny, but we don't. We're like wooden ships on a water at the mercy of whichever way the wind is blowing. But despite this, it's at times like this that the value of the professional fleet manager becomes evident. We can't control these external forces, but our skill sets and importantly, our past experience helps us mitigate and minimize the impact of these external forces on our companies and our company's bottom line. So no matter how you look at it, we're definitely living in extraordinary times, and these extraordinary times will most likely continue for the foreseeable future. But until then, I'd like to conclude my State of the Fleet Industry presentation for the week of June 14th, 2021.